Hey, I'm Jamey from Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to talk about my thoughts on the first game in the campaign, and the campaign in general, no spoilers, of course, for Lost Ruins of Arnak, The Missing Expedition. So specifically, I'm going to talk about this from a game design perspective, how they have formed this campaign. I've only played, again, one game of the campaign. This is from designers Min and Elwin, and I wanted to note that they were very kind to give me this copy of the game. We recently released at Gen Con a Lost Ruins of Arnak promo pack, here we go, for Rolling Realms, and so I have a relationship with these two designers, and so we exchanged. I gave them some of the promo packs, and they were very kind to give me this expansion. That's why I have it here. So how this campaign works is that it essentially is a game of Lost Ruins of Arnak, but you can play either the campaign solo or two-player, and if you play two-player, it is a cooperative campaign, which I found interesting. I wasn't sure exactly how that would work out in Lost Ruins of Arnak, partially because I typically play two-player games and campaign games with Megan, my partner, and Megan likes the competitive aspect of Lost Ruins of Arnak. She's very good at it. I don't think she's ever lost at Lost Ruins of Arnak while playing competitively. So I was curious how that would work out. But it actually worked out great. Like, we were still focused on doing our own thing, but we were also collaborating and talking to each other about the limited spaces on the board and the many one-time benefits in Lost Ruins of Arnak to see who was best equipped to take that benefit at that moment to work towards the goal. So I thought that cooperative element was good. I thought also there's a little cooperative element in the game involving pigeons that I thought was pretty clever. Each player gets a pigeon token, and at any time, you can send, or anytime on your turn or the other player's turn, not the, I'll talk about another player's turn in a second. Anytime on your turn or your collaborator's turn, you can send the pigeon to that player. So you actually give them the pigeon token with a resource token from your supply. So you can send them a resource that they really need at that moment. And then they have the pigeon. So there was a point in the game where I sent Megan a resource with a pigeon, and she had both pigeons at that point. And that pigeon flips over. It's refreshed at the end of the round. And so I really like the thematic nature of this, that it isn't just that the pigeon automatically returns to me at the end of the round. It's that Megan has the pigeons now. If she wants for me to, in the future, be able to send her anything, she needs to send a pigeon to me. So it's this nice light cooperation, but an important level of cooperation that requires you to think ahead a little bit and not just be generous, but also be a little selfish at times to say, I really need this, so we can actually send these resources back and forth. I thought that was an interesting point of cooperation. The third level of the campaign, and this is the one that I was the most worried about when I read it in the rulebook, is that when you're playing the Missing Expedition, you need to use the solo mode in Arnak. You need to have an autonomous player that is running on their own. They take turns in the game, that they're blocking spaces, they're fighting guardians, they're revealing locations, they're moving up the research track. I was worried about running a bot because I hardly ever do this in games. I generally just avoid games that have bots. However, I have to say, after one game, the bot was really, really easy to run, and not just easy to run, but also really easy to learn. The bot has a stack of 10 tiles, and on the bot's turn, you flip over one of those tiles, and in this game, they're actually called rivals. They are a rivaling party to you. You flip over one of the tiles, and you do the thing that it says on that tile. It's very simple to do it. The one, I'm joking a little bit here, but the one downside is that the bot or the rival plays red. They always play red because they have a certain number of workers. And in games, I usually play red. And so I was maybe a little bit confused at times looking at across the board. Okay, here's the red token. And that's not my token. A little confused by that. It's actually three other things about the campaign. There's a lot of neat little things about the campaign, and I should stress before I continue too that you can play this without the campaign. You can just throw most of the materials into the game and just enjoy. There are 2 new characters, a bunch of new cards and tiles, things like that you can just toss into the game and play if you don't want to play through the campaign. I will say that the campaign to me is the right length. I have advocated against super long campaigns because I want to play a lot of different games, and so having a 6-game campaign is a great length of a campaign. I could have had it even go a little bit shorter because Arnak is not a short game to play, but I'm glad they didn't make it any longer than that. I think 6 games is a really nice sweet spot for campaign games. So I'm really glad that they did that and didn't make it a 40-game campaign that we're never going to get through. So 3 other aspects of the campaign too that I'd like to mention. One is you have this big campaign deck of cards that is giving you more cards at the end of the game, or sometimes at the beginning of the game. And here is, I'm going to flash this up at the camera if you really don't want to know the first scenario or the first chapter. you don't read this, but you can see the general structure of it without looking at the text. This card has a goal that you're trying to accomplish. This is the win or lose goal up here. And it also has 3 objectives that you can accomplish. They might even help you with this goal if you want to. And many of these goals give you a new card in your deck if you accomplish them or when you accomplish them. So they might be nice to accomplish one of these goals early. And these goals, accomplishing them, are also tied to this little chart here. This little chart is something that you progress at the end of each game. You kind of cross off some different icons based on specific icons that you gathered during the campaign, or some of these say question marks, so you can choose the type of icon, and they let you unlock new cards that you get to start the game with in your deck, at the bottom of your deck, but still in your deck somewhere, which feels really good that you had this new card in your deck, but it also isn't overpowered because it isn't just randomly shuffled into your deck. I've seen that in Clank Legacy as well. I really like it here too. The last part, a big new part of this campaign, are the encounter cards, and I really like what they did with these. You have these encounter cards. This is again from the first chapter that you encounter randomly. You won't encounter all of them, I don't think, but when you do encounter them, you have to make a choice, and the choices are very friendly. I sense that this was inspired a little bit by maybe Robinson Crusoe, but in a much friendlier way. So basically, this gives you a one-time immediate choice. So here, we've discovered a monkey cave. And right away, if I want, the person who discovers this monkey cave, I can gain a fear card and gain a ruby, so I can explore the cave, or I can keep the card, and later on, and the goal says befriend the monkeys. So I befriended the monkeys, so I get to kind of keep the monkeys, and later on it says I get to gain an item for 1 less than the cost and put the item directly in your hand. So this is a bonus that you can use whenever you want later, once, or you gain the instant bonus right now. And the choice that you make, these little icons down here, tie back into this little campaign chart. So as we progress in the campaign down specific paths on this chart, we might start to make decisions based on those icons a little bit too. So there's a little extra decision space there in the campaign. But I like this choice. I like that it's a friendly choice too. Maybe there will be bad encounter cards that happen later, but this is just a really friendly choice. Like, they're both good choices. Do you want it right now for yourself, or do you want it in the future, potentially for either player? I think I've gone over all the campaign elements right now. I think they come together to a really nice cohesive whole. They aren't too much, they don't provide too much mental overload for a game that is already fairly complex. And I think the campaign book, at least from the first chapter so far, does a good job of explaining those different concepts and keeping them visible on the board so you're not having to remember a bunch of stuff. I think that's a nice element to campaigns too, that add little twists to the rules, especially with the objectives. Like, the objective card is right there for you to look at any time. You don't need to necessarily reference the rules to see what your objectives are. So yeah, those are my thoughts. 1 chapter into Lost Ruins of Arnak. We still have it on the table. We plan to play in Game 2 in the near future. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If any of these remind you of other campaigns that you really admire and appreciate, or if you have started to play through this campaign and have some thoughts about it. Let me know in the comments below. Thanks.